Let me ask you here today, have you ever wondered why some people you meet can form close and secure relationships and friendships easily? It's almost like second nature to them. Maybe you're one of those people. And why is it that some people seem to really struggle on a deeper level with connection and intimacy in general? What is the obstacle that stands before the building of what could be once a beautiful friendship or relationship? Today, we shall explore and shed light upon the topic of attachment styles and the possible causes of these intimacy hardships that we may or may not be experiencing in our daily lives. Now, this idea of different styles of attachment in order to form intimate relationships is commonly known as the attachment style. It was proposed by a British psychoanalyst, John Bowlby, who found that separated infants would go extraordinary lengths, for example, crying, clinging, frantically searching for parents in order to prevent separation. At first, they thought that this was simply an immature emotional defense system in order to suppress pain. But another explanation for this behavior is that these infants are using this to seek out a primary attachment figure. This turned out to be an evolutionary adaptive responses to separation from a primary attachment figure who provides support, care, and protection in order for these infants to survive. In other words, they seek out someone just to be able to get care, and it asks the following question: if the attachment figure is nearby, accessible, and attentive. If the children perceives the answer for this question to be yes, they feel loved, secure, confident, and behaviorally is more likely to explore their environment. Attachment styles with the primary caregiver develop during the first 18 months of the infant's life. Scientists have also concluded that there are 4 different types of attachment styles: secure, anxious ambivalent, avoidant, and disorganized. The secure attachment signifies a warm and loving bond between the parent and the child. The child feels loved and cared for. They feel confident to be able to form the healthy relationships with those around them, because they always know that they're still safe haven. That is to say, their caregiver or someone who accepts them. These people exhibit low avoidance and low anxiety from people. As an example, Tom is a 40-year-old man who grew up with his parents who were loving and supportive, which led to a secure attachment style. And he was able to connect with potential partners in life easily, therefore succeeding in establishing meaningful and certain relationships. Around 50% of the adults make up this attachment style. Next, we have the anxious ambivalent children who tend to distrust caregivers. This type of children was often met with caregivers who occasionally gave them attention, but not always. This develops a sense of abandonment for the child as a result that they avoid people because they occasionally know the predictable kind of kindness that the caregiver gave them when they were younger, but also at the same time being abandoned and not given enough attention to. For example, Alex is a 23-year-old man who grew up in an environment where his parents were often inconsistent in their love and care and attention. As a result, Alex developed this sense of anxious and ambivalent attachment styles. constantly seeking reassurance and validation from his partners. Despite his efforts, Alex's relationships always seemed to fail, and his neediness and insecurity drove his partners away, as Alex experienced also high levels of anxiety and depression, negatively impacting his mental health and overall well-being. Only 20% of the adults make up this attachment style. Next, we have the avoidant figure type. Children with this attachment styles have learned to accept their emotional needs are remain to be unloved and insignificant. They exhibit high avoidance but low anxiety from people because they know that they will not get much attention. Therefore, they would not be attached in the first place. For this instance, Maya is a 32-year-old woman who grew up with her father who was emotionally distant and rarely showed affection. Later on in life, Maya developed this avoidant attachment style, pushing people away in order to avoid getting hurt, despite her desire to form close relationships. Maya finds herself avoiding intimacy with people. It also impacts her work as she finds difficulty in trusting colleagues and prefer to work independently, missing out on valuable opportunities for collaboration and growth alike. 25% of the adults make up this attachment style. Lastly, we got the disorganized attachment style, which is a combination of both avoidant and anxious ambivalent attachment style. Children who fit in this group were often given with not only not love, but also abusive caregivers who did not give them much attention. They often exhibit an intense amount of anger and rage. Meet Sarah. She, growing up, had a chaotic and unpredictable childhood. Her parents were inconsistent in their love, and sometimes being loving and supportive, and sometimes being neglectful or abusive. As a result, she developed disorganized attachment styles. As an adult, she experiences extreme fear of rejection and difficulty to connecting with other people. And her tendency to avoid closeness push others away. Luckily, only 5% of the adults make up this attachment style. And let's say, one day, the secure Tom meets the disorganized Sarah, and they fall madly in love with her, and he successfully her to convince her into going into a relationship. Even though Sarah might find that many areas of Tom's personality unappealing, due to her unneediness for closeness and intimacy, she agreed to engage in a relationship with Tom. And obviously, this relationship is very troublesome and chaotic all the time. Despite Tom's best effort to give Sarah emotional support and reassurance, her insecurities for validation often creates tension within their relationships. Furthermore, she pushes Tom away often due to the fact that despite needing his intimacy, but also finds that it is sometimes too much for her. This intensifies the dilemma and the pain that resides within her. Tom finds himself feeling frustrated emotionally and drained, unsure of how to meet her needs while also maintaining his own well-being. Unfortunately, the relationship ended very early on, within just 2 weeks of their engagement. This tragic tale of Tom and Sarah's love story demonstrates that if we are not well secured in our attachment styles, then there could be a multitude of problematic tensions that arises within a friendship or a relationship. Personally, I myself fall into the anxious, ambivalent type. It's not always easy for me to depend on people around me and have intimate relationships with people. I find that sometimes I can be fearful of abandonment, whether it be a tragic end to a long-term friendship or relationship. There was a time when I was a kid that I remember I would be asking my mom, "Hey, come over here. Check out what I made for you today." And my mother would often reply, "No, honey, I'm busy making dinner, washing clothes, doing chores, etc." It was in these crucial moments in my childhood which really developed my attachment style. There was even this one time when I would intentionally test her by yelling and screaming for around half an hour just to get her attention with no responses. I know I was an annoying kid back then, but I was a very relentless one and determined at that one. This will and desire to connect with a caregiver is a very biological development in every human on Earth. It's very hardwired in our DNA, and in order to seek out this caregiver, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, besides food, water, and safety, love and belonging are the most important needs that we also must fulfill. Humans are a social species wired to connect, but sometimes this expectancy of insufficient attention from time to time can make us feel anxious whenever we cling on to someone. This is why it's very vital for our caregiver to give adequate amount of attention for newborn babies and to give them all the love they need in life. Though my mom can be a very loving and really hardworking woman, she occasionally neglects the attention needs of her children or does not understand the situation which they are in. Hey mom, if you're watching this, love you. From my personal experience, this was and still is a degree of hardship in relationships and building for my attachment styles in this moment. This a sense of insecurity drives me to a possibility of abandonment, which I use to push away not only just relationships, but friendships alike sometimes, though to a much lesser extent. It is quite evident that these insecure attachments can lead to leading negative effects of a lifetime. So, here's the question at hand. Is it possible to change and alter our styles of bonding and attachment style after our primary developmental stage as a child? Well, fortunately, any insecure attachment styles can be turned into a secure one. Anxious ambivalent, for example, is an insecurity on one's own self-esteem and image. And on the other hand, the avoidant type has an insecurity for intimacy with others. Lastly, the disorganized attachment style is a combination of both. So how can we possibly better ourselves by improving our self-image and self-determination in order to gain a further value and appreciation for the intimacy of others? Confidence is a state of mind, and one can work on it by taking small steps towards building self-esteem. First, it's essential to develop and acknowledge personal strengths and accomplishments. By focusing on these strengths, one can build a positive self-image, which is an essential component to self-confidence. Secondly, it's crucial to also challenge these negative thoughts that trigger insecurity. This could be done by practicing mindfulness, meditation, or reframing from negative thoughts. Thirdly, An important step towards addressing insecurity is to practice self-affirmations that are positive by repeating phrases such as, "I can do it," "I have the ability to," or "I am good at." It is scientifically proven that with self-positive affirmations, one can successfully improve their self-confidence by replacing their negative thoughts or subconscious into positive ones. Fourthly, following up with the most crucial step of gaining confidence in yourself is that one must also face their own insecurities in life, so that the default subconscious mindset would have a positive view on yourself. And lastly, it is essential to take care of your physical and emotional well-being by exercising regularly, eating healthy, seeking therapy if necessary. It is crucial to take action by taking small steps at a time. Now, to address the acceptance of need for intimacy with others, that can also be challenging, especially for those who experience betrayal or rejection. It is essential to remember that healthy relationships require vulnerability and trust. One can start by building trust in oneself by practicing self-compassion and forgiveness. This could be achieved by accepting one's flaw and acknowledging that one's mistakes are inevitable parts of learning process. It is essential to communicate openly and honestly with others, expressing one's need and boundaries correctly. It is crucial to build a support system of trusted friends and family who can provide sufficient emotional support and validation. And lastly, sometimes we may need to seek professional help if necessary, such as therapy and counseling, in order to work through any past traumas that we may have experienced in our early life, that they may be hindering in our ability to build intimate relationships. We have seen how our attachment styles can have a significant impact on our relationships, mental health, and overall well-being. The good news is that the attachment styles are not set in stone, and with effort and intention, we can shift towards a more secure attachment style patterns by becoming aware of our attachment style and in the way that they affect our daily lives, and that we can begin to make positive changes and develop healthier relationships. It's not always easy, and it may require some work, but the benefits of having secure attachments are immeasurable. It is time to break the cycle of insecure attachments and start building a better future for ourselves and those around us. Thank you.